Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech, protected.
The following is independently produced programming. The views and opinions expressed are those of the producers and do not reflect the views and opinions of Falls Area Community Television, our staff, or board of directors.
Secrets in the shadows, lost and found. Truth in every echo, loud and clear. Keep on with the long road, no more fear. In the halls of power, whispers grow. Every secret crack beneath the undertone. Honest stories hidden in the dust. On this long road, in the truth we trust.
Welcome to The Long Road. I'm your host, Chris Roberts. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about Harper Magazine. Harper Magazine has been around for over 175 years. And with Harper Magazine, they have some pretty poignant debates, questions. And I've been getting Harper Magazine for at least the last 30 years. The reason I like to read Harper Magazine is because it doesn't tell you what to think, how to think. It lays information out there. It's not some article that's just written at a 6th or 7th grade level. It's one, if you're not thinking and you're not having a wide breadth of information, willingness to take it, if you're not willing to get your opinions and what you believe is truth to be challenged, it's not the magazine for you. Like one right here, Harper Magazine, The End of Public Schools as We Know It. Round 2, Trump's futile war against the deep state. Harper's Sobriety and Ecstasy. And Harper's new monthly magazine. But what I find the best part of Harper Magazine is page 9. And on page 9, every month, Harper puts out what's called the Harper Index. Okay, and what it does, it will lay out some facts. And again, facts have always been questioned. So what Harper does, it goes in and every single thing inside index it puts out, it gives references where they came up with these. And a lot of the things that I find around here is people say one thing, but they end up doing another thing. And there's a lot of stuff on here that that you'll never hear in the local newspaper, on the radio, or talk media, whatever. And so I figured today, what I'd do, I'd spend the show on the Harper Index, and then in the future, maybe go like my top 10 Harper Index of the week, and just bring it. For example, 1, the average household earnings of the bottom 50% of Americans in the United States. Just think the bottom 50%. So with Keene, say with 24,000, and say it was a hypothetical town, and it had the long range of it. The bottom 50% of American households or income earners, we'll just say we're talking income, bringing money in, is $4,805. Just think of that. If you are in the bottom 50%, your average wealth is $4,805. Here we are, the wealthiest country in the world, but 50% of the people who work or earn money are only worth their household. Everybody in that household, whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 4, is only worth $4,805. So just think, if you have a mom and a dad and 2 kids, they work at McDonald's, where they work at Walmart, or some of the places like that. Mom and dad are only worth $2,400 each. Imagine that, being 30, 40 years old and only being worth $2,400 each if you're married or living with somebody. But compare it to China. China is $9,760. So over the last 20, 30 years, China's wealth has been going up and the United States has been going down. Why? In the United States, it's always about increasing cost. Okay, you know what? If I can sell it for $10 and I find a way to reduce the cost so I only have to sell it for $8, we're not going to reduce it to $8 in the United States. We're going to increase it or keep it the same so I can increase my profit. China's got this mentality, okay, if something is $10 and I can still keep my profit margin at $8, I'm going to sell it for $8. Why? Because that means the average Chinese household will have $2 extra. They can save some so the bank can loan it out, or they can use that $2 to buy something else. So in America, if I'm the owner, I'm the CEO of Apple, okay, so instead of reducing my iPhone from 1,000 to 800 and still keep my same profit margin, no, I will keep it at the same price, but increase my profit margin. In Japan and China, Hawaii, I can't pronounce it, Hawaii, theirs. So now instead of their phone being 1,000, they reduced their phone to $800. Okay, they still make the same amount of profit. Then the Chinese people, they can spend that $200 on other things, allowing people to have a better quality of life and spread the wealth. But that's not the American way. That is Adam Smith Wealth of Nation way, but that is not the way where you have, quote, government-supported capitalism. We don't have pure capitalism. We have government-supported capitalism. Okay? You know, we're talking about clean energy. Shoot, I was driving in today. The price of gas is now $2.99. Shoot, 2 weeks ago it was $2.82. I even saw some places at $2.79. And has anybody seen what their electric bills is going through the roof? Very easily 10, 15%. Some places around the country over 20%. And the minimum value of investment in United States clean energy projects this year because green energy, we've been told, or renewable energy, whatever, is woke. It's bull crap. Okay. $15.5 billion. The government, federal government, has withdrawn $15.5 billion in green energy projects, such as like wind farms and things like that. For the people who work, how many have Microsoft Outlook? Okay, during work, Microsoft Outlook, the average person gets 117 emails a day. So when that comes down to, if you work an 8-hour day, you're going to get an email every 4 minutes the whole day. But that's not the end. If you have Microsoft Outlook, 15% of the people that have Microsoft Outlook get and send emails outside of work. I have people go to my boss and complain I'm not reading their emails or answering their phone calls. You know, a couple of the emails that I was answering today were sent on November 11th, Veterans Day. Okay? Excuse me. I'm not going to answer on Veterans Day. And I'm not going to answer on Saturday or Sunday. I'm not going to answer if I'm on vacation. What can they do? My boss can fire me. My boss can give me a lower evaluation so I don't get a raise. Oh, what? Oh, well. The number of video meetings that take place after 8 p.m. 16% of American workers who have Microsoft Outlook and some of the other ones have to participate in a video meeting after 8 p.m. What kind of quality of life is that? I was surprised. I'm going, basically, almost 1 out of every 5 people when they go home has to get on a video meeting when they should be spending time with their family or just an old time. Imagine that, having to work when you're not getting paid. Here's one. The percentage of U.S. college seniors who regard schedule flexibility as very important in their first job. 90%, 9 out of every 10 college students is looking for a job that has some kind of flexibility. Okay? The percentage of recent graduates who have reported to have very flexible schedules, 29. Only a third of the students, college grads who were looking for flexible schedules, was able to achieve a flexible schedule. Okay, here's one that goes against a myth that we like to say the reason why people are poor is because they have too many vices. The portion of American earners earning more than $150,000 a year who never drink alcohol. 20%. See? Bingo. 20% of the people who go $150,000 a year don't drink alcohol. So that goes to prove that if you want to get ahead in life, don't drink alcohol, don't smoke, don't take drugs. Well, the number of those people earning less than $50,000 a year who don't drink alcohol, 40%. So basically, when you go and look at people making $22 an hour or less, 40% of them don't drink alcohol. Yeah, you can argue, well, they can't afford alcohol. Well, that could be a good thing, and they're making proper judgment on where they should spend their limited money. So if we were to go the way they like to play numbers, we can say of the people who earn $50,000 or less, twice as many of them do not drink alcohol as those as 150,000 or more, which is really a bogus number, because the only way you should be using the percentages is if you know the exact amount of people in those two categories. Otherwise, you can have 10 people making 150,000 and 20 people making less than 50,000, and that 2-to-1 ratio would not work. Okay. AI, we're talking AI. Every time you put a computer on, there's an AI chat box or this or that. You can even go on Google PlayStation, Microsoft Play, whatever you call it, and then Apple App Store. And you can download a chat box. Of course, it's going to cost you money and talk. Chances that an American has used AI to help them decline a second date or end the relationship. 8%, almost 10% of the people do not have the courage to say, you know what? This date sucks and I want to go home. Or no, I don't want to see you again. So I'm going to take my phone to the bathroom. I'm going to go to the bathroom and I'm going to have AI talk to my date and say, it's over. I'm not coming out until you leave. Or, you know, I'm going, thanks for the date, but nah, there's nothing there. So I'm not going to call you. I'm not going to gaslight you. I'm just going to have my chat box take care of you to let you know there's nothing else happening and I don't need to see you again. This has been brought up a number of times, and people have even committed suicide over this. I'm going, wait a minute. Do you know that 1 out of every 6 Americans have had romantic interaction with an AI chat box? I go, what? Just think. If I want to go online and I can put all the stuff in and I can create my own AI chat box romantic partner. I can plug in, program in every single thing I want that romantic partner to find positive in me, in everything I want that one to be in my romantic partner. Are we missing something here? So I can stay home and I can communicate back and forth with this romantic partner. And if I work from home, I never even have to engage with anybody except me, even DoorDash. I can say, hey, DoorDash, drop the stuff on my front door. The DoorDash person drops at the front door, takes a picture. Then when he or she's gone, I can go out, get the food, bring it in, and have a romantic meal with my AI chat box. Just think, 1 out of every 6. And sometimes the AI chat box doesn't work too well and tells you to go off yourself, and people have committed suicide because their AI chat box has told them. And the question is, if I program my AI chat box and all this kind of stuff, and if for some reason we have a breakup and she tells me to commit suicide and I commit suicide, who's responsible for that? Do you know that 1 out of every 3 people of the age of 28 in the United States has had or is having a romantic relationship with an AI chat box? People don't talk to each other. They're just in their own kind of mega. You can create people in the mega universe. Shoot, in the mega universe, you can create people that go around and rape other people in the mega universe, kill people, the other avatars in the mega universe. So, is it real rape or isn't it? Is it real murder or isn't it? But if I've created an avatar or in a chat box and it is so romantically inclined that I think it's my wife or my girlfriend, and someone comes along and in the universe rapes and then kills her, is that not a traumatic event in my life? So, some of the other things that are coming up with AI. In percentages of Americans who consider having an AI romantic partner while dating human to be cheating, 40% of American people, basically adults, say, hey, if you're having a romantic relationship with a chat box, that is the same thing as cheating. In a lot of psychology and sociology books and stuff, an emotional bond is far worse than a sexual bond. And so now we're creating emotional bonds with chat boxes. And we only have so much emotion to go around. So if I decide I want to really do a lot of emotional bonding with my chat box, who suffers? Yep. In Ireland, they had a survey. They surveyed the Irish adults. They asked the people who would permanently give up the internet for 5 million euros. Depending on the exchange rate, that could be anywhere from $5 to $6.5 million. 40% of the adults in Ireland said they would not give up the internet for $5 million. 30% of the adults in Ireland said they could not last an hour without being online. So you got AI, you got chat boxes. People won't give up the internet for all this money. And some people are saying they can't last an hour without being online. And now we're wondering, why do we have such a big increase in mental health issues? A chat box doesn't give you a hug. AI doesn't give you a hug. A chat box doesn't wipe your tears. The portion of the top 100 TikTok videos featuring mental health advice. So you go to TikTok, you got these influencers, you've got these therapists, you've got doctors, you've got PhDs are out there giving advice on TikTok. Some of them are charging for the advice on TikTok. And it goes, what's the difference between someone who took the driving test 12 times to pass and someone who took it once to pass? There isn't any. They're both licensed drivers. It is no different if it took me 8 times to pass the bar. It's no different if it takes me 6 times to pass the exam to become a certified licensed therapist. Once I pass, I am a licensed therapist, and I can say I'm a licensed therapist. I can say I'm a lawyer. I can say I'm an accountant, because when I pass, it doesn't matter how many times I failed. Except when you go to apply for a job, and a lot of law firms or accounting firms or hospitals or mental health organizations go, wait a minute, this person failed 6 times. I'm not hiring him. Or J.B. Hunt, it took you 14 times to get your CDL. Sorry. That's where the difference is. But over 50% of the top 100 TikTok videos on mental health advice contained misinformation. Just think of it. A little more than 50% of the top 100 videos on TikTok for mental health contain misinformation, and some of that misinformation can be deadly. Percentage of children age 11 to 14 who use phones in a highly addictive manner who are likely to consider suicide. 22% of 11 or 4 to 14-year-old kids who are on TikTok, on their phones, on TikTok all the time, it's almost addictive. 1 out of every 5. Just think of it. 1 out of every 5 5th through 9th grader who's addicted to TikTok have considered suicide. By which they are likely to attempt suicide or predatory steps to do it. Compared to the non-addictive, the ones that are addictive, they have a 117% greater chance of stop taking the steps necessary to commit suicide. Some are saved because they had second or third thoughts. Others are saved because their friends found out about it and let other people know. But unfortunately, some are not saved. As we've known in the past, there's been some youngsters in the area, surrounding area, who have taken steps, had taken more than preparatory steps. The percentage of American boys between 10 and 17 who report viewing sexually charged content about firearms at least once a week. At least once a week. That comes out to 52 times a year. 100 times, could be much more. But this is at least once a week. 54% of boys 10 to 17 have reported viewing sexually charged contents about firearms. Okay. You know, you got these nice young ladies not wearing very many clothes, showing the rifle, or in positions hunting, just different ways that involve sex with having a firearm. For a lot of these boys, 10 to 17, they're going, oh, if I have a weapon, this beautiful young lady was going to show a lot of interest in me. It's just manipulation. How do we get boys interested with this firearms? It ain't hunting, but it's about firearms. Since 2016, the portion of American fathers who describe their mental health as excellent has gone down 22%. The proportion of American mothers who describe their mental health has dropped 33%. So when you go like TikTok, AI blots, you're getting all these work emails every day, then you're getting work emails out of after work hours, or you have to be on video calls, you go to work, you're going to be stuck with a job that's not going to give you any flexibility. You got a lot of stress. You don't have money to save, you're paying a lot for college, you're realizing you could be some of those millions and millions and millions of people in the United States who have college degrees and are working at a job that doesn't require a college degree, and you may have $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in student debt. You're paying the bare minimum, and the principal goes higher and higher and higher every year. Estimate number of legally owned gun silencers in the United States. In 2011, there was 285,000 legally owned gun silencers. And you would say, oh, if I have a pistol or whatever, why would I need a silencer on it? Well, that's because if I shoot somebody, I don't want anybody to hear. But in 2024, that number was over 5 million. There's 5 million gun silencers in the United States. So, basically, There's one gun silencer for every 75 people in the United States. Here's one that really blew my mind, and I had to go and double check. The number of states that required annual active shooter training for public elementary schools. Okay? Active shooter training for public elementary schools. 34 states in America require annual active shooter training. You know how many states require police departments to have active shooter training for public education schools? Zilch. You would think that would change after all those kids were killed in Arizona a few years back, when the chief of police was a total coward. Him and his people waited on the outside while the shooter went in, shooting those little kids. Well, we didn't know what to do. Well, if you had done your job and you had rehearsed, you would have known. You could have rehearsed during the summer when there wasn't any other kids there and do it. When I was in the Marine Corps and we had to rehearse with nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare, guess what? We got other people to play victims. When we had to do riot control, we got other people to play the victims. You do not have to do it while they're in school. This one, these are really hard because a lot of people don't really look at it. Even if you had 100,000, 200,000 bucks put away, you're making $50,000 a year. You're working at CNS or one of the other factories around here, or you're working for a small company, you're working for PC Connection, any of them, you're making $50,000, say even $60,000 a year. You're making $60,000 a year. Okay? You turn 66 and you retire. Unless you have something else, you are now going to live on $30,000 a year. What expenses have gone down? What healthcare costs has gone down? Food hasn't gone down. Utilities hasn't gone down. Your rent hasn't gone down. If you own your own house and you don't have a mortgage, insurance hasn't gone down, especially over the last 3 or 4 years. Property taxes hasn't gone down. So if you were making $60,000, you had a $300,000 house and you were paying $10,000 a year on taxes. Okay, it wasn't really too bad. Bingo. You were working a couple months a year just to be able to stay in your house, make enough money to buy taxes. But now, oops, where do you go? You may be forced to sell your house and living in a small apartment or a condo until the money dries up. And hopefully by then you can get into Section 8 housing or senior housing. Because when I work, I've seen more and more veterans, they're coming in. They're saying, I can't afford to live. I don't have any money. Can you find me ways to get money from the VA? I've had a couple. Guy comes in and says, I got 60 days to come up with a new mortgage or I'm out on the street. The projected factor by which population of homeless people over the age of 65 will increase by 2030. 4 years from now. Yeah, we'll make it, say 5 years from now. 300%. It's the amount of homeless people that will, in the United States over the age of 65. It will increase by 300% because they will not be able to afford to keep their home because of the taxes. Yes, the city can put a lien in the house and delay the taxes, but only so much because the city needs money to operate. They can't afford rent. Healthcare costs. My mother-in-law is in nursing home, and it just stated that the amount the monthly one is going up was really kind of unbelievable. When I go at times, I'm going, wow. She lays in bed, gets a bed change, sometimes get fed 3 meals a day if she's up. Get some medicine and everything, and that's only $150,000 to $160,000. She's already spent over $500,000 to Maplewood, and soon all her money will be gone, and she will have to go on Medicaid. And as Maplewood gets more and more people on Medicaid, the people that get the full boat are going to have to pay more and more and more. And the state and federal government will give some, but what the state and federal government doesn't give, the local taxpayers have to give. And in the one big, beautiful bill, there's a good possibility there's an awful lot of money coming out of Medicaid. Yep, not Medicare, Medicaid. And so, who do you think's going to pay for that? Percent increase since 2010 in divorces among Americans aged 65 and older. It's increased by 60%. You know why? You have the 5-year look back. And so, someone is really, really sick in the family. So, like me, if I didn't have health care and I was really sick and my bills are expense, I would pull a Captain and Tennille and some of the other people and go, honey, let's get divorced before I get really, really bad. And they will take all our assets. So we get divorced. Hopefully I don't get bad for the next 5 years. And then when I do get 5 years pass, then all my medical expenses would be paid for by Medicaid, while my wife gets to keep, former wife gets to keep all the assets. It's just like when I help widows from veterans, and I go, it's kind of like, I don't know how religious you are, but it's extremely important that you live in sin if you find someone, because yes, your husband died of a serious connection. So yes, you are getting Champ VA, this health care. Yes, you are getting $1,600 to $2,000 a month. But get married. You're not the government's responsibility. It's your new husband or your new spouse, and you lose everything. And so people over 65 are saying, I'm not going to lose all this stuff because I've worked for it. Yeah. My mother-in-law is going to spend pretty close to 700. She lives another year or two. She's going to pretty close to $700,000 to Maplewood. Everything her and her husband earned is all going to go to the nursing home. And she's not the only one. I've seen people just in assisted living blow through money at $75,000 to $80,000 a year. And then once you're out of assisted living, going. Since 2010 to 2024, the cases of gonorrhea of Americans 65 and older who've gotten divorced has increased by 592%. The little blue pill and Cialis and everything is really working wonders. But, you know, time for the kids to say, Grandma, Granddad, I know it's ooh, but you gotta practice safe sex. We don't want to think about you having sex, but you gotta practice safe sex, Grandma, Grandpa. Remember when I was talking about TikTok with mental health and everything? For the people who are on X, some of these other ones, I can't remember that one. Not Apple, Facebook. There's commercials all over the place for ADHD. Take this test, pay bingo, we'll give you these drugs, all this other kind of stuff. It's working really well. Because since 2021, ADHD diagnosis in that cohort of 65 and older, since 2010, well, no, just until 2021, since they've been really advertising, the number of people 65 older have been diagnosed with ADHD is 67%. It's gone up 67%. What is ADHD? You know, when you look at all our great explorers and a whole bunch of other stuff, they had ADHD. They had the ability to dissociate, broke a leg, bang, 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 and just keep going. But those abilities that explorers and all that kind of stuff, for somehow we've decided those are bad things. Are they bad things? We've been able to accomplish, scientists, a lot of people have accomplished things who have the ADHD. Do you know? And a lot of times we have teachers in schools and everything that say, yep, hey, Mrs. Smith, your son Johnny has ADHD. You should need to go such and such and get some pills to help calm him down. Well, it's amazing. Since we don't have recesses, the number of people that's supposed to have ADHD, according to teachers, have gone up. And then you get nurses, bingo, you get a whole bunch of unqualified people saying, oh, yes, Johnny has ADHD. For Johnny to get a diagnosis with ADHD, it requires a child psychologists, psychiatrists with extensive training in adolescents ADHD. And it means observing the child in the classroom, but it also means observing the child back home. But you know what? Insurance companies don't want to pay that, and that's just a hassle. So you have teachers, you have school nurses, you other places, nurse practitioners, physician assistants. Yep, ADHD, take these pills. Do you know that 25% of Americans believe they have undiagnosed ADHD? So if I'm on a bus and there's 40 adults on them, 10 of those people believe they have ADHD, but they haven't been diagnosed yet. But based on the medical research and the proper diagnosis, what do you think the chances are of a person having ADHD is? 1 in 17. 1 in 17. The person has a less than 6% chance, if you spread it over, of having honestly diagnosed ADHD. And when it's on a spectrum, some would have it really bad, some have it slight. It goes up and down. And I'm going, when you just go and look at that, or the other one, the estimate percentage of Americans who are incarcerated, on parole, or on probation who've had a traumatic brain injury, which can alter your personality, your functioning, all this other kind of stuff, 45%. And the number that are treated for TBIs is minute. Why again? Because it takes specially trained psychiatrists and psychologists and a whole battery of tests to determine whether you have a TBI or not. For example, I had a TBI, spent a bunch of time as a combat engineer, blowing up things, banging my head, saying that really cleaned my clock. I had to spend the whole day taking test after test after test. And the guy goes, get a 4-page report, real detail. Yes, he has a TBI. And I'm rated at 40% because sometimes TBI, bad moments, I have trouble speaking, pronouncing words, but most of the time I'm pretty functional, except when I get tired. Now, why would you want to do any of this, examine or treat the people or give them coping skills? Maybe they get out of prison and they become productive members of society because, the reason you burst out in anger is because you have a serious TBI and you permanently damaged your brain. And now we'll end it up with disgusting stuff. What happens in your school with our children? What happens with the phones? What happens with some of this AI? The portions of Americans aged 13 to 17 who say they have been the subject of deep flake pornography. What's deep flake? Okay, I'm 16 and I like Susie, but Susie doesn't like me and she blows me off. So I decide that I'm going to get back at Susie. So I'm going to look on these porn sites until I get a nice young female body, and then I'll get this deep flake material, AI, and then I will just put Susie's face and hair and all that stuff. It matches it up. And then I may post it online. I may show my friends. And then sooner or later, Susie finds out. And Susie's pretty horrified. Well, again, about 6% who say they have had it actually happen to them. Those who saw another minor, which means they have saw deep flake pictures, nude, and other disgusting sexual acts which are illegal of another minor, their age or younger, over 11%. So it's one of those 6% is saying, hey, that it's bad. It happened to me. It was disgusting. It was hurtful. But at the same time, 11% of the minors are saying, oh yeah, I saw Billy Joe's picture. I saw his picture. And it happens to boys too. And other times they say, well, you know what? I don't like Bill. Bill's a jerk. He beats me up. So I'm going to deep flake pornography, having Bill engaging in pornographic gay pictures and spread it around school. And so we need to wake up. AI is not always your friend. AI is not always honest. AI has the ability to really damage people. AI has the ability to lead people to commit suicide. Yes, it has positive stuff, but we have to. So we've got kids on this side of getting hurt, and now we've got people 65 and older are going to be out on the street more and more each year. That is the Harper Index.